Welcome to the AZ Big Podcast, sponsored by Bursch and Cracchiolo. I'm Michael Gossi, editor-in-chief at AZ Big Media, and I'm joined by my co-host, our vice president and publisher, Amy Lindsay. Amy, I've been bugging you for how long? I want to have this guy back on the podcast.
He knows a lot about this market.
He knows a lot about this market, and every time we publish any of his stuff at azbigmedia.com, it gets monster numbers because there's so much interest.
Yes.
Trevor Halpern, founder of Halpern Residential. Trevor, thank you so much for being here. We have a million questions for you today.
Bring them.
All right, let's start off. Yeah, we're going to start off with a big one. How would you describe the current Phoenix housing market in simple terms? Is it really a buyer's market right now?
It's so interesting. It's quite balanced. And shockingly, if you look, 9 of our 18 major cities are actually in seller's market territory. We have 3 that are balanced and we have 6 that are buyer's markets. So it inverts the narrative.
Those are Metro Phoenix cities?
Metro Phoenix, yeah, our biggest 18 cities.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, no, it literally flips the narrative on its head when you look statistically.
Okay, so Phoenix right now is sitting below 100, right, on the Cromford market.
Phoenix is actually 128.
One,
It shifts all the time, right?
Is that right?
Yes. So
can you explain to our listeners what that means?
Yeah, so we in the Metro Phoenix area, we have the benefit of having access to this data report called the Cromford Data Report. The Cromford Market Index is an index that the mathematicians that run Cromford use. Anything at 100 is balanced. Anything below 100 is a buyer's market. Anything above 100 is a seller's market. And, you know, if you're kind of plus or minus 8 or so around that, it's pretty balanced. So in our major cities right now, Fountain Hills is at a 164. Fountain Hills is booming, right? That is heavily seller market territory. We've got Chandler at a 155, Phoenix 128. The lowest we have in our 18 major cities is Buckeye at 52. Buckeye is heavily a buyer's market.
See, I would have thought it was going to be completely opposite of that because Buckeye is such a boom town right now.
Yep. Well, and it may be saturation level. You know, you've got a lot of new builds. You have a lot of anticipation of what's going to go on there. But typically, when it kind of starts shifting to a buyer's market, sellers start losing a little bit of steam. What happens is when the markets are really robust and it is a seller's market, and sellers are putting a sign in their yard, 15 people are bidding on it. Pricing starts going up and people start fleeing to the outskirts of town where it's more affordable. Okay. When things start balancing out or even getting into buyer market territory, people come back to the center of town. So you look at some of these, Fountain Hills being the exception, but Fountain Hills is a very specific micro market. But you look, Chandler, Tempe, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Glendale, Gilbert, all of these are kind of like core component areas of our major metro complex. And so people start moving back to those areas as affordability or the perception of affordability starts balancing out a little bit.
So everything we read is like, you know, the housing prices are out of control. Our kids aren't going to be able to buy houses. What's the truth out there right now? Are the prices reasonable? Are they where they should be? Do you see them going up? What's the truth out there?
Yeah, you know, when we look at median, I like to look at median as opposed to average because average gets affected by the fringes, right? Average pulled up really high last year because uber luxury, $10, $15 million homes were flying. And then when they start slowing down, the average shakes up. Median is more steady. So median price right now is about $450. Last year was $445. So reasonable incremental increase, not a boom town, not a bust. Some months will be down a little bit, some months will be up a little bit. But when you look at like generational affordability, the prices are not astronomically high. They're relatively steady. What is high is inflation and cost of goods. And especially if you're a first-time home buyer, your kids looking to buy a home or they're trying to get into the real estate market, everything is expensive. The idea of going to the grocery store and buying eggs that are 3x what they were a couple of years ago, milk, soda, going out to dinner. Right. You can't walk out of dinner without it being $50-$60 for an individual, right? It's very hard for people who are trying to get entry into the market, $450, $400, to save that money up for the down payment. And then to also know that their monthly payment when they buy a home is probably going to be higher than when they were paying rent. So it is a global economic situation and a cost of goods that is making it harder for people to get in. It's not a ramp up hockey stick type on the chart home value increase. It's the totality of everything just being expensive right now.
What is the current interest rates? How does that play into that?
Always plays into it because we're looking at monthly affordability. And that's why, so current interest rates, let's call it 6.25. A little bit up, a little bit down, around there, but let's just call it for a 30-year fix, somewhere around 6.25. Some months will dip a little bit. Some weeks, some days will go up. I mean, it is a daily thing, but when we look, it's about 6.25. And what we find mentally is that people, when we get into the fives and we're steadily in the fives, people start going, okay, now I'll look. But in the sixes, people are like, I don't know. What buyers become a lot more picky.
Right.
And the sevens, people are like, I'm just going to wait. So we're in a comfortable zone-ish in that low six where people are still actionable, but buyers look for every reason to not purchase when they're in the sixes. Nope, that home, I don't like the front yard. We're going to have to do this, or the inspection wasn't so good, so we're just out. We'll move on to the next. So the buyer mentality at 6 and 6.25 is a little more... they are very perceptive and they are very picky. When you start going down a little bit and competition starts coming up, you get in the fives, the solid fives. We're going to see a lot more people in the
So
market.
it could be in the high fives, but it has to have a 5 to start. Is that the key?
Our lenders call those things handles, a 5 handle. We're in the 5% range. They want that.
That's
and so do
interesting.
I. Yeah. And so when you see it in the fives, there's that perception turns into reality and people start hitting the market more.
So you were telling us a little bit earlier that most of the cities in Metro Phoenix right now are sellers markets.
Yeah.
So what happens when that goes down into fives and it stays in the fives for an extended period of time?
We are going to see, so the general rule of thumb, the National Mortgage Bankers Association says that for every 1% that interest rates go down, 1 million people nationally enter the market.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So when all those people on the sidelines, they all have their threshold of affordability. Right.
Okay.
So I know my lenders have alerts set up. So it's like I talked to Trevor. He said if rates get below 6, call him. Right. So we start seeing people come into the market at various ranges of interest rates.
So, Trevor, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I wanted to ask you about this today. You know, it seemed like just a short time ago that like a $5 million or an $8 million house sale in Phoenix was major news. That was just like, now we're seeing like 25, 30 million. What happened? Like, when did that switch get flipped that we're such a high-end market now?
Yeah, it is really interesting. I think to me that started shifting in COVID. We had a lot of wealth move to Phoenix. We are a first-tier city. We're a top 10 city for population, but we've always been a secondary or tertiary market for real estate. Our values have always been like third-tier city values. In COVID, a lot of people moved here. We were a little bit freer of a state. People were coming here to get in the sun. They were coming here to do their Zooms and work from home. And they're like, oh, we'll turn it into an Airbnb. But what we saw is this flood of people seeing value and coming and bringing their money to Arizona, and values increasing on the home front because of that influx of cash. And so that really kind of started it. And then what I think happened is people started realizing this is a nice place. I'm going to stay here. And that uber luxury, that $15 million, some of those are what we call home collectors. They have 5, 6, 7 homes around the world, and they see something, they go, I want that. And they come here for 3 weeks out of the year or
Home
whatever.
collector, that's
home
an
collectors,
interesting
yeah.
term.
It'd be
Wow.
nice to be that. I was gonna buy this
I'm
$15 million
dreaming as you're
place.
talking.
Yeah, exactly. But so we've seen that run up, and I tell you, Paradise Valley is very, very. Every investor I know is like door knocking in Paradise Valley, trying to buy these lots and turn them into these 7.5, 8, 10, $15 million homes.
So what do those mega sales do to the average person that's involved in the housing market?
Yeah. So what it does, those mega listings that sell, they dramatically affect that average price and that
Okay.
average price per square foot. And so that's where we go, hey, if we have 6, 7 of these $15 million homes that sell over the next 3-4 months, that skews that average price. It doesn't affect median as much. That's why I really like to focus on median, because those big mega homes don't drag the median up. It drags the average up and it throws the statistics off.
Wow.
It's a big difference. I mean, when you're talking statistics, that they can be big differentiators.
Huge.
See why I love having this guy on the podcast? This
I feel smarter already.
amazing information. And Trevor, I have a million more questions for you, but before we get to them, I have to say, at Birch & Cracchiolo, there is nothing artificial about their intelligence. While Birch & Cracchiolo wholeheartedly embraces technology and all the ways it can increase productivity, nothing will replace the sound judgment, wise counsel, and humanity of an attorney who is vested in you, your business, and your family. Birch & Cracchiolo attorneys will be there for you no matter what your need. They are your partner for life. Learn more at bcattorneys.com. That's bcattorneys.com. Okay, Trevor, one of the things that I always love asking you about, what are the hot neighborhoods right now? Where should people be looking so they know that if and when the time comes they want to sell their house, they're not going to have a hard time doing it?
Yeah, really center of town. You look at some of these core areas.
That was exactly what Michael wanted to hear. So thank you.
Yeah. Check that. You're good. Yeah. Okay, good.
And he goes, I've got to ask Trevor if I was crazy to buy downtown.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I think, downtown, the historics are always stable. Historics are very local. I've got a client considering selling a historic right now, and someone was like, oh, seasonally, don't do it. Seasonally, it doesn't matter. These are local people buying locally. So center of town, historics, look, North Central Phoenix, Arcadia, Paradise Valley, certain core neighborhoods of Scottsdale, 85254. These are areas that are consistently desirable for so many reasons, right? You look at the stack of kind of multipliers of a neighborhood. Why this neighborhood? Access to this, good schools, access to that, close to the airport. There are core components that drive value in neighborhoods and create stability. Most stability is occurring in those central portions of town.
Trevor, one of the other things I've always admired about you, you're also an attorney. So how has that impacted your real estate career and your ability to negotiate for your clients?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And I'm not a licensed attorney, but I graduated with a law degree, and it helps me, as I like to say, play chess, not checkers. I'm thinking a couple steps ahead. I'm looking at worst case scenario. Where can we fall off the cliff? What can we avoid from a risk standpoint? How can we mitigate risk? And then when it comes to negotiating, being a few steps ahead, being able to kind of cross-examine another agent on the other side without it feeling that way, and trying to get those core components of information from the other side so that I can use it effectively for my client, super helpful. Helps me with contract language too. I'll get some contracts from other agents, and I'm like, we cannot allow this language to stand because really this is what it could do. So correcting what some other agents do and then simplifying contract language with very direct language to accomplish what my clients want, that's absolutely where that comes into play.
Sure, that's priceless.
That's got to have, over the years, that's got to have helped your clients tremendously avoid maybe potential problems down the road.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And one of the things, I was raised by a trial attorney for a father. I had breakfast with him before this, and so
nice.
I get a lot of that where it's like, no, that's risky. This could happen. So I'm constantly looking at risk assessment and trying to maneuver my clients around that. And I think that's what good real estate agents. That's where good agents earn their keep, is risk mitigation, helping your clients avoid pitfalls and potholes without them even knowing it. That's where we come into play. And oftentimes agents don't really get a ton of credit. But I would say that it's the transactions that go perfectly where my clients were like, this was great. It's like, well, you didn't know the fires that I put out in the background, which they don't need to know everything.
Right, yeah.
Right.
If it comes down to hey, you need to make this decision. Here's how I view it. Great. I'm going to present it to you. But if I can tamp out these little fires before it rises to the level of them needing to make a decision, we're going to do that.
Yeah. So for someone looking to buy or sell right now, what's the biggest number one mistake they're making, and what's the smartest move they can make?
Yeah, the clear biggest mistake for sellers right now is overpricing. If you have a bias back to the COVID days of hey, this is where, man, we could put a sign in the yard, we could get a ton of money and a bunch of people bidding for our home. And so that pricing, if you misprice as a seller, you are dead in the water. You just are. The market will respond accordingly because, as I mentioned earlier, buyers are very skeptical right now. Buyers are very precise right now. On the buy side, I would say the biggest mistake you can make is not being strategic, is not bringing in professionals. Aside from a shameless plug for real estate agents and lenders, a good real estate agent and a good lender, and the two of them specifically, if they work together,
right.
I have 4 or 5 lender partners that I work with because they are pros. And I know that when I go to buy a home, I call every single one of them. I make them compete, make lenders compete, interview the heck out of agents, figure out how both of those combined can help you get the best rate and the best terms. Every time one of my buyer clients is going to offer, I'm calling their lender, we're working a strategy, and we're presenting that strategy to our buyers. So being very strategic as a buyer is critically important. Thinking that you can off the rack, I'm going to use, loans.net or whatever, you just go, ChatGPT is going to tell me what I need to know. I can do this. I see a lot of buyers failing when they're doing that, because there's a huge amount of institutional knowledge and history wrapped up into the brains of the professionals who are doing this day in and day out.
Yeah, where is Arizona with, at one point in time, it seemed like everybody decided that being a real estate agent was what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And there was a huge concern with how much experience they really have. Yes,
Yeah.
you want to become a real estate agent to sell your house or your parents' house. But how big of an issue is that in the marketplace with people not selecting or asking the right questions to find an agent?
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's a good question.
It's a great question. There are about roughly 40,000 licensees, right? There are a lot of people. And I would say there are the people that like to mess up their aunt's purchase or sale once or twice a year. You know what I mean? They have their license, but they're not doing this day in and day out. The day in, day out experience, this market shifts every day, and trying to figure out the riddle of it, it's critically important as an agent to be doing that. And as a consumer, just going, my buddy does this and I'm going to use him, even though he may only do it 2 or 3 times a year. It can be a strategic failing. It really can be. So making sure that you are interviewing agents, asking the right questions. There are simple questions for buyer's agents. There are simple questions for, if you're going to list your home, 2 questions you ask. 1, what is your marketing plan? And 2, how are you going to report that to me? And if the agent sitting across the table from you goes, they don't have a marketing plan, and they're not going to be able to report it to you. You want to make sure as a seller that your home is being marketed in a precise manner that is directed to your specific home. As a buyer, interview the agent. Hey, how are you going to show homes? Am I going to be the one telling you what houses we're going to go look at? Are you going to help me find them? What is the cadence when we want to go look? What do we do? How many homes should we look at in a day? All of these questions are valid to, 1, find a mix of an agent who's going to play the way you want to play. And
Right.
2, find the mix of an agent who says, I see the way you want to play. Here's how I like to do it. And here's why the way you want to play may not work really well. And in my experience, this way is better. You want the agent to be like the hand in the small of your back. Let's go. I'm here
That's a
with
great way
you.
to look at it, yeah.
Right? I'm not pushing you. I'm not pulling you, but I'm here to help you
Right.
accomplish your goals.
That's awesome. I like that.
Okay, last question. What's your outlook for the next 1 to 5 years?
1 to 5, I would say the next year we are going to be really driven by interest rates. I am not anticipating a dramatic drop. I think we're going to remain relatively steady. I think some inflationary pressure is keeping the Fed from really dropping the rate that will tangentially affect our mortgage interest rates. The next 5 years, I see a more robust marketplace. As long as Arizona remains business friendly and we keep bringing population to town, I think we are going to remain a real estate heavy, not necessarily boom town, but a very steady and stable place for you to come and invest your real estate dollars.
Okay, I'm sure there's thousands of people out there listening right now saying, how do I get in touch with this guy? So how can people learn more about Halpern Residential?
Yeah, go to halpernresidential.com. You can look me up on social media with the same handle, or you can call me at 602-595-4200.
Okay, great. Well, Trevor Halpern, founder of Halpern Residential, as always, thank you so much for being here. Great information. Thank you for listening to the AZ Big Podcast with Michael and Amy. For the latest and greatest business, real estate, and lifestyle news, check out the all-new azbigmedia.com. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, Birch and Crack Yellow, and thank you to Trevor Halpern, one of the best in the business. Make sure you get in touch with him.
Thank you for putting
Trevor.
Michael's mind at ease, too,
Good.
because that was the
Anytime.
most important
Anytime.
thing that could happen today.
You didn't even pay me for that.
Thank you, Trevor.
Trevor.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.